Have you ever considered seriously buying a base model Japanese ute? Dude, why would you even want to inflict this style of suffering on yourself or someone you love? In this report, we're going to cover that off, and it's all inspired upliftingly by the well-intentioned question I received just the other day from somebody kind of like you. I'm John Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au, and I get new cars cheap, even hypothetically, a base model 4x2 single cab ute. Yes. If you really want to do that to yourself, who am I to judge? Australia only. Website. Card. Now, someone must buy these vehicles. Like, the volume is all dingo piss creek. Here we come in our fully loaded Worksburger 4x4 dual cab, but they do sell 4x2 Povo Pack utes, and they must have some appeal. So let us drill down into that, and this is inspired by a really nice question from a dad trying to do the right thing by his young bloke.
This report is sponsored by Nordvpn. Now, I'm not a hardcore IT guy, but I've heard enough, especially recently, about data breaches, scams and hacks to know that being online can be inherently risky and costly. You don't have to be tech savvy to use NordVPN. It's a simple one-stop cybersecurity solution. One click and you are protected from hackers, malware and pop-ups across as many as 6 devices. NordVPN is the world's fastest VPN. I don't even notice it running in the background, frankly, and it only costs about as much as a cup of coffee to keep your data, your identity and your devices secure every month. NordVPN can also save you money because you can assign your virtual location to another country where, for example, flights and accommodation might be cheaper than they are back at home. The same goes for streaming services, and you can access live sporting events and other content that may not be available where you actually live. It's a pretty small price to pay for cybersecurity, not to mention the potential savings also on the table. Go to nordvpn.com/AEJC to get a huge discount off your plan plus 4 months free. Totally risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. That's nordvpn.com/AEJC. Link in the description. And thanks to Nord for sponsoring this episode.
I got this the other day from a dude named Bevan, who's a dad trying to help out his young bloke. I haven't met a Bevan, a bona fide Bevan, for yonks, mate. What would you even call a Bevan face-to-face? Bevo, most probably. Maybe even Vo. Hey, Vo! Chill shout, dude. Vo says, I'm helping one of my sons who has an intellectual disability to set up a small landscape maintenance business. 2 thumbs up, Bevo. It's difficult enough even when children don't have particular challenges to get them on the right track, so 13 points out of a possible 10 for you. #respect. He needs a basic work vehicle to throw a mower on the back and cart stuff around. Don't we all? He is jamming all his tools and gear into a 2006 Toyota Corolla at present, with obvious space and safety issues. Yeah, I can see that not being the most practical vehicle on earth for landscape maintenance. I was recommended a Hilux Workmate by the local Toyota car dealership. Dude, they're not doing their job if they recommend a used Triton, are they, for example? It seems pricey for what it is. Yeah. But it probably does have decent resale, so there's that. You'd want to factor that in. And there is a waiting list to get a new vehicle. Well, yeah, dude, it's a Toyota. I've also looked at a few second-hand cars, but these are also pricey and have the disadvantage of short warranty. Your ute review suggests Mitsubishi may be a better choice, but the long wait times will still apply. I'd suggest that my ute review is most likely to be a Triton GSR or GLS or something of that nature, which is a completely different animal to the base model Poverty Pack Chitois, although there will be some commonalities such as the quote-unquote 10-year warranty offered by Mitsubishi should you choose to get your vehicle serviced by the authorised dealer. But in terms of the vehicles themselves, the GLS Triton is kind of a dingo piss creek visitation family runaround with many premium features, whereas the base model Chitois is a totally different animal. So there's that, and not better in many ways, right? Bevo goes on and says, 2 questions. Am I looking at the right vehicle choice, and can you recommend where to get a vehicle? Thanks and regards, Bevan. So these base model utes are the ultimate poverty pack. They really do mean poverty when they say that. They're not designed with human comfort in mind. They have few, if any, redeeming features, save for the price and the fact that they function. Okay? They're typically bought by fleets. They might be the runaround farm ute or something. You know, they're not the kind of vehicle people buy for daily conveyance unless there's an extremely good reason, such as you're a bean counter and you want to save the business as many shekels as you possibly can, and the employees won't arc up too hard if you inflict that kind of thing on them. So, am I looking at the right vehicle choice, and can you recommend where to get a vehicle? Well, if you're getting a new vehicle, it has to be from the authorised dealer. So depending on whichever brand you choose, and the decision might be made on completely non-intuitive factors, such as who can supply me one as quickly as I need it, right? I'd suggest, furthermore, that all of the base model 4x2 utes are pretty much equally horrible. They don't really have some sort of salient beacon over one of them. There's no obvious choice like, buy this one, it's great. They're all equally shit, is kind of what I'm saying about that. The Workmate is just the shittest Hilux you can buy. There's a GLX 4x2 2.4 litre petrol Triton you can buy. It's a few $1,000s cheaper than the Toyota and equally horrible insofar as I can tell. So there's that. But as to, is this the best vehicle? It may not be, right? Triton's going to be cheaper than the Hilux. Won't have as good resale value. It'll have a better warranty if you get it serviced on time at the dealership. The thing about a ute, though, for the young bloke, is that there's really zero security for any of the gear. So he's going to have to be really careful if he parks it and ducks into the shops or something. And I know you can mitigate the security with a chain around the mower and a padlock, and if the ute's got a tray, which is an additional cost of a couple of $1,000 probably if you want a decent one, then you're going to have to put a toolbox in the back with a padlock on that, and that's going to impact on the tray space, but it at least will give you some security. Without, you could put a trundle sort of tray in the back as well, maybe like a big drawer that comes out of the back. It'll have a lock on it for some of the tools. But all of these things, they cost extra money, okay? And in the absence of features like that to give some of your son's equipment security, then you're going to need, or he's going to need to jam whatever into the front passenger seat. And I suggest that's going to be worse than the Corolla if he wants that valuable item or items to be secure. Some of this stuff obviously can just be otherwise picked up and hoyed off with while he's getting a burger or picking up something on the way home. So this is really a salient factor to consider. It's going to be like a $25,000 exercise to buy the base model Triton, and maybe more than that if you want to add features to it like a tray with a trundle drawer that's lockable and things of that nature. Certainly a decent aluminium toolbox bolted to the floor of the tray with a padlock is going to cost you the best part of $1,000. And if you want to do the same thing with a Toyota with your base model Workmate, it's probably going to be more like a $30,000 deal, which to me seems rather a lot for what you're actually getting. And let's bear in mind that the young bloke is currently getting the job done with a Corolla from 2006, which I assume is a hatch. Okay, so the hatch has got certainly more internal space than the ute will ever have in terms of just internal cabin space for this and that, and more versatile. He can put a couple of friends in it and go for a drive, for example, or whatever, in the way that you just can't do that with a single cab 4x2 shitbox ute. Okay, so the ute in the context of overall driving might not be the best vehicle for the young bloke. So I'm going to hit you with a left field solution, okay? And the left field solution would be keep using the Corolla for the time being and get him a 6x4 galvanised box trailer. Like, you can get one of those currently for under $2,000. You can even get it with a little cage around the cargo area to make it less easy to pinch stuff out of, like more obvious that you're climbing over the top and opening it, certainly throwing stuff out in the car park while he's getting a burger, whatever. And the Corolla, if my research is correct, has a unbraked tow capacity of 450 kilos. So I estimate that a 6x4 trailer is going to weigh something like 100, 150 kilos, something of that nature. So he's going to have 300-ish kilos of cargo capacity in a 6x4 trailer. And he can leave the trailer at presumably your place when he goes out in his vehicle. Okay, so all of his work stuff can be in the trailer and he can hitch it up and go. And presumably he'll be compatible, once he learns the skill, he'll be compatible with driving a car with a 6x4 trailer. We're not talking about a B-double after all. And that trailer will be light enough to just manoeuvre around on the jockey wheel. So happy days if he's got a complex sort of manoeuvre to do with it, such as he ends up nose down a driveway or something and there's no room really to turn around. He can uncouple and manipulate the trailer around and then drive out nose first after turning around, kind of thing. So not that difficult to use and make use of, and he's already managing in the Corolla, so he's still going to have the cabin space in the Corolla for anything that he needs to secure if he leaves the coupled up rig behind to go into the shops quickly or something. He can have the valuable stuff in the Corolla, it can be secure and locked away, and the trailer is not that much of a headache, and certainly it's 1/10 of the price of the ute upgrade that you're thinking about. Now, if the business flourishes and he's able to manage that okay, then you might think about upgrading to something a little bit bigger in the domain of cabin space. And I'm talking about maybe a used Subaru Forester, Hyundai Tucson, Kia Sportage, something of that nature. Now, that'll allow him to upgrade the loaded ATM, like the fully loaded mass of the trailer, to 750 kilos without brakes. And that'll give him a healthy upgrade if he's got more tools and more stuff in time that he needs to carry around. And it'll also give him more cabin space, especially with the rear seats folded forward, for anything that is valuable that he needs to lock away from time to time. And I just looked at the values of those kinds of vehicles used from 2015 or 2016, for example, and they're going to be roughly the same price as the workmate that you're thinking about buying right now. And they won't have the warranty, obviously, I get that, but they'll still be reasonably new and thus reasonably reliable, and they'll be a shit ton nicer to drive when you're towing the trailer and when it's decoupled and he's just going about the other aspects of his life in the vehicle, right? And to me, that just seems like a more rational upgrade than going hell for leather and spending what I see as a fairly large amount of money for not very much vehicle. That's just like the base model price of those utes. So let me know what you think about that as a potentially more viable and lower cost solution for the young bloke. And if you've watched this video to this point and you've got a better solution for Bevo, why don't you let him have it in the comments below, and maybe we could all collaborate here and just try and make the young bloke's next vehicular step as cost effective and as practically workable as it can be in the circumstances.